Hello, welcome back to another video. Today's video, we're working on a Tacoma, 2002 Tacoma. Unfortunately, it's not a V6 3.4 engine. This is a 3RZ, which is also known as the 4-banger, 4-cylinder, automatic, 2002 X-Cab. This truck here belongs to one of my neighbors, and when I first moved into my house here last year, I eyeballed this truck already. I was like, oh, I'm gonna go talk to my neighbor one day and see what his truck is all about. Last year, I noticed that it just sat in his front yard for a long time, and then I finally met him, and I talked to him. I was like, hey, what's going on with your Tacoma? I seen you haven't been driving it. And he told me, oh, I got a blown head gasket recently, so it's just been parked, and then he bought a new truck. So during this whole summer, I thought about, hey, should I try to buy it from him? And I'm like, no, I'll just offer that. I offer that, hey, I can fix it if you want to get it fixed. So last week I told him that, hey, I'm available if you want to get it fixed. So we brought it into the garage, and I told him right away the 3RZ is known for burnt valves and cracked head. So if we tear this engine down, and it does have that, you know, don't expect a alarming news or anything like that. And I got the engine in, got the truck in last night, and I started working on it. The head is already removed, and what do you know? The head is cracked. A little history about me. My first head gasket job was on this motor, the 3RZ motor. So I had a good feeling that it was like that. If you guys search on my YouTube channel, 3RZ head gasket rebuild, you'll see all the videos. And when I did my rebuild, it was because my valves were burnt. Cylinder 1 is known for burning valves. Luckily, this cylinder head was good, or at least it was good. When I did a compression check, compression came out to be all good, so that means no burnt valves. But then we were left alone with possible cracked head, and with the head removed, you can see the head is cracked. So I started this removal process with the engine in the truck, but then we also decided that, hey, we're this deep in, let's just go ahead and do the timing chain as well. So now I'm just gonna go ahead and remove the whole engine, because in order to do the timing chain, you have to drop the oil pan and all that fun stuff down there. And I watched some videos of people doing it, and it's just some really bad horror stories. So I'm gonna go ahead and just remove the rest of the block, pull it out. It's an automatic. Pull it out, and then we can work on a engine stand and get it sealed back in there. I think once I bring this out and do the timing cover and reseal the oil pan, I'm gonna drop the block back in the way it is right now. And then once we get the new cylinder head on order, I don't mind doing the cylinder head while the engine is in the engine bay and the rest of the stuff. But for that oil pan and the timing chain, it's definitely worth pulling this motor out. So that's just a pro tip for you guys. I have never done a timing chain on this motor, but I have done a timing chain on a 22RE, and like I said, it's always easier to have the whole engine out. So let me go ahead and show you guys what's going on. It's quite a mess out here, but everything is nicely organized. So as you guys can see, it is an automatic, and like I said, we got the fan, radiator, all that stuff removed, oil pump cover. We're gonna put a new water pump, new thermostat, timing chain, and all that fun stuff. You guys can see right away, cylinder head 1 is all nice and shiny, and that's a clear tell sign of when the coolant was leaking, because once the coolant leaks in there, it actually cleans it up really good. And you can see the rest of it is like that. While we're in here, we're gonna put a new fuel filter. That's the original one, Toyota, and this truck currently has about 183,000 miles. We're also gonna go ahead and send in the fuel injectors to Injector Masters in Oregon and have them rebuild it so that everything's all fresh. And then, like I said, everything's gonna come out. It's just much more easier to just pull this motor, the rest of the block, and do everything else on its stand. Right now, to unbolt this engine, it's pretty easy. I have the engine stand, or the engine mounts, and I have to unbolt the bell housing, starter, undo the torque converter, and then it's pretty much just out from there, so it's just easier to just do it that way. If I don't do it that way, I have to drop the cross member and then fight with the oil pan to get out, and then later on when I install that oil pan, I'm gonna be working on the bottom, and it's just a, you know, you're taking a 50-50 chance and making sure that everything seals properly. And I want this motor to be able to, I want to make sure this motor seals properly, and the best way to do that is having the whole engine out, flipping it around and making sure that that RTV is good. So that's what it looks like right now. Right here is the 3RZ cylinder head. You guys can see this is the front of the engine. Cylinder 1, 2, 3, 4. And like I said earlier, you can see how cylinder 1 is all nice and shiny. And if you guys look right here, that's where the cylinder head crack is. That hairline crack and that crack right there. They always crack around this area. When I did my first 3RZ head gasket, I had the exact crack right around this area where the spark plug is. And it's gonna start leaking oil because oil stuff will get into here, and also coolant. But it's always around the spark plug area. And usually when one of them does it, the rest of it is as well. You can see one right there. That's a hairline crack. And then on cylinder 3, hairline crack right there. And then on cylinder 4, I believe cylinder 4 was pretty good. But when it's like that, it's pretty much all done, so we're not gonna use any of the cylinder head. I will have to strip this cylinder head. We're gonna be using all the hardware, all the studs. I still have the rest of this stuff right here. I'm gonna leave all this stuff on until I get my new cylinder head in, and then we'll go ahead and slowly transfer this over. All the valves we don't use because the new cylinder head will come with it, but I'll go ahead and remove all the valves and probably put this in a spare parts bin because I don't have any spare parts for 3RZ. So I'll keep these for spare parts, strip this cylinder head down, and then we'll keep this aluminum head and we'll recycle it and get some money back from it. This is a pretty nice Tacoma. Like I said, it's automatic, still has a really nice clean body. It just needs a new front bumper because it has a little ding right here. And then the rust is, the frame itself just has surface rust. It doesn't have the cancer rust yet where it's rusting on the actual frame. This Tacoma is definitely worth saving because like I say, it still have many miles out of it. Like I say, it's an automatic. This is a 2002, so I'm surprised that it still has power. I'm surprised it has manual windows. This one doesn't have the e-locker, unfortunately. And like I said, it's just typical 4-banger, no sunroof, nothing like that. Really simple, 180,000 miles or so. And like I said, just a really basic Toyota. Engine's all stock besides that cold air intake that they put in there. These are the fuel injectors. We'll go ahead and get these sent in to get rebuilt. And then we have the camshaft and a little bit of all these stuff right over here. The camshaft we won't be using because like I said, the new cylinder head that we'll be buying comes with everything new. Alternator, we'll probably most likely be using all that. We'll go ahead and get new head bolts. This is the oil pump right here along with the oil drive. And then we have the intake, the lower, the upper. We'll go ahead and get that cleaned up and all that fun stuff. We have the valve cover that needs to be cleaned. We'll put new valve cover seal. Went ahead and unbolt the power steering because it's actually more easier just to get it out of the way. And then that's the original water pump. You can see it says Toyota right there. We'll go ahead and get a new one. It's always best to not reuse it. And then we have the fan clutch, the fan shroud, and then the radiator still looks pretty good, so we'll go ahead and reuse that radiator. And then lastly, we have the exhaust manifold down there. We'll get all new gasket for that. So pretty simple stuff, guys, nothing too crazy. And then just all miscellaneous hardware up there. So that's the project for this week here. Like I said, right now we haven't ordered anything yet. We still need to order the cylinder head, which is the most important thing. And then we'll have to go order all the itty bitty parts, gaskets, all the miscellaneous stuff, all the new replacement parts, belts, filters, stuff like that. And once all that arrives, we'll go ahead and start assembling it. Right now it's just a matter of getting this block out and cleaning it, prepping it, and getting it ready for all the new goodies. Like I said in my past videos, when it comes to doing head gasket job, if this is your first time doing it, I always recommend, if you can, which some people can't, but if you could, remove the whole engine out from the engine bay. It takes a little bit more time, a couple more bolts here and there. You do need an engine hoist and stuff like that, but in my opinion, it saves you more time in the long run, and also all the headaches of trying to do things around the engine bay, under the engine bay, and it just makes it more easier. So from now on, when I do something like this, I'm just gonna go ahead and remove the whole engine. I don't know why I started with just removing the head. I've had a feeling that, hey, maybe I can tackle it with the way it is right now, but then when it came to the timing chain, I was like, timing chain, shoot, I forgot the oil pan has to come out. And I'm like, screw it, let's just go ahead and remove the rest of the block now. So it is what it is. It'll be easier for me to remove this block now because I can access all the belt housing bolts. The things that I don't like, one of the things I don't like about removing engine from the engine or from the engine bay is when they're automatic. I think the worst thing I hate is just doing those torque converter bolts. They're not hard or anything like that, but you have very little room and you have to spin it, take it out, take one out, spin it, take one out, and stuff like that. So if you guys don't know automatics, you should always unbolt the torque converter from the flex plate, and don't pull the whole engine with the torque converter. You could do that if you're like gutting this rig out and you don't care about putting it back, but you always want to leave the torque converter into the tranny, and don't remove that because it's a sealed system and you want to leave it the way it is. But again, if you're parting this rig out, if you need this engine for other reason, you don't care about this vehicle anymore, then you can remove it the way I do it back then. I only do that with automatic when I'm gutting them out, but from now on you have to make sure you do that way. I'll keep you guys updated in the next couple videos. I'm not gonna film too much of myself doing all this stuff. Maybe I'll film some videos once we get the new parts in and we put this engine back together. But as far as disassembling and stuff like that, I feel like you guys don't need to see any of that. I made videos in the past of all that stuff already. So maybe when I get my new parts, we'll go ahead and put everything back together and I'll just make another video of that. If you guys want to stay up to date on this project, make sure you guys follow the Instagram and watch the stories, because I keep you guys up to date on the stories at NuttyNu_414. I'll see you guys next time. Much love.